Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Dreams to Reality podcast. And today we've got a very, very special guest, entrepreneur, chef, author, radio host, and a lover of the Southwest, especially the weather in general. Is that a good introduction?
I think so.
Romy Gill. Romy Gill, how are you doing today?
This weather is making me so miserable. But anyway, this is British weather, right? We only talk about weather, and then now the elections.
Now the elections. Tomorrow. Is it tomorrow?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. To be fair, I've got time tomorrow. Can you vote tomorrow? No? So you come over, as you guys probably seen from the start, and I think Dave's been recording anyway. This is the second introduction we've done to this podcast, and probably within that time we've had a bit of a laugh, which is good. But for everybody who's just tuning in who don't know you, I gave you a little introduction. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you ended up doing what you're doing?
I think the food is either the love of food is within you, or everybody. Food is very subjective. People love food. We live for food, we cook, we either buy. Food is something everybody needs in their life, and food is about sharing. I think the food I grew up eating when I came to UK, I was very young and I missed my family, I missed my friends and the food I grew up eating. So I think for me, Indian food was something. I was going out with my husband for, to go out in a restaurant. It was very exciting, but the food really, the expectations of Indian food was not what I expected. And then and there I said to my husband, I'm going to open a restaurant. And years later, which I did, Romy's Kitchen. I think I wanted people to eat the food I grew up eating. Indian food is not just Indian. Indian food is regional food. It's very different from what you get. But now, actually, we have some amazing restaurants, especially in London, that you can actually taste the proper Indian food. Okay,
so have you always been fascinated with food? And is it something you've always wanted to do? Or was it until you come over to the UK and you've seen what was about that you started to, I guess, miss home and you wanted to bring something to, say, England, or would you say, the real Indian culture? Because as you said earlier, you said you went to Indian restaurants and it wasn't quite like what you experienced at home. So did that influence you to start cooking or start sharing? Where did that drive really come from?
I think I always wanted to be a chef. It was not something that I just came because I came in the UK and I wanted to be. My mum had cancer was I was doing my A-levels.
Wow.
And the doctor had said that she wouldn't survive long. It's in the last stages. But my mom lived more than 40 years. Sadly, she passed 10 months ago with heart attack, not with cancer. She was a very strong lady. And my mom's life revolved around the 3 kids. It was about cooking in the morning for breakfast. It was always hot food, and she would pack lunches for us. Then she would make snacks for us in the evening dinner. So she was a lady it was about cooking food for the family and the friends. So it's something she really enjoyed, and that was her life. But when she had cancer, she couldn't taste the food. So it was so disheartening to see that she was putting too much salt in her food and she couldn't taste it properly. So I said to my dad, I want to be a chef. And he completely within seconds said no, because he said, you wouldn't survive. It's a very male-dominating industry, especially in India.
Wow.
You would not survive. And I was like, okay, you didn't sort of, and I do understand what he meant. So when I came, I think it was in me, and I wanted to cook for people. And cooking is not a chore for me. I enjoy cooking, it's not something, I have to do it.
So when he said no, what was your kind of initial thoughts? Did you have another idea what you wanted to go and do? Or what was the plan B, essentially, if being a chef didn't work out? Was there a plan B?
I used to play cricket quite a lot, so I was a very good cricketer. India is crazy about cricket, as you know. Food and cricket goes side by side. I was even better than my brother and his friends, and they would beat me up and say, go and do the fielding. Then at that point I wanted to be a cricketer, and there was not many chances of women cricketers. Still isn't that it is getting much better now. So I think I always wanted to do something which was around art and culture. It wasn't about, about sitting on a chair and doing office job. That was not me. You know, I couldn't do that. I'm quite a hyper person, and I like kind of be involved in something which I will enjoy. So I had always, you know, I just left it to it and see what will happen. And I wanted to come and study here, so that
Fell
happened.
in quite nicely, to
Yeah.
be fair. So when you come and studied over here, at what point did you think becoming a chef was actually realistic, if that makes sense, as an actual goal or dream? Or what was the first step you did it? Did you just get a normal job in the kitchen first? Like, what was the process to becoming who you are today? So people's going to see the finished article, the book you do, you being on radio, you being on TV, opening up restaurants. They're going to see the finished article. But of course, nothing ever really happens overnight. It's not a quick kind of fix, is it really? It takes time. So what was the starting process for you?
I think for me it was like when we moved to Thornbury, it was just, you know, I had 2 young girls, and at that point I had decided that I'm going to look for a place, and I want to open a place. The first thing was to write to the restaurants, because I didn't know the restaurant trade. I didn't know the working hours, the ethics of it. So I wrote to the restaurants. Some restaurants came back, and I even said, please don't pay me. I just want to come and learn. I want to work. And some did. And then I wrote a lot to cookery schools as well, that I want to kind of teach or learn from other people. So which we, you know, a lot of cookery schools did, and a lot of cookery schools did not.
Your mic is breaking. Sorry. Oh, action.
So I wrote to different cookery schools. Some replied to me, some did not, and they want me now, because once, I think that's the thing of it, when you become a bit well known, everybody wants you. So I think, and also I started kind of doing catering from home, making my own sauces, also like spice blends, pastes, and did a lot of food fairs and food festivals. I think you need to learn the trade, and also it's very, very important who wants to be a chef today. There are a lot more opportunities as well than when I wanted to be, and also you must find a mentor. It's really important to find a mentor in any kind of work. A mentor will really guide you whether this is wrong, this is right, because I was very lucky to have few mentors in my life that actually helped me to be the chef or author, whatever I am today. I think it's really important to find a mentor, and also really important to believe in yourself, believe the food that you cook or any kind of work you're doing.
So what would you say to, let's say, like a chef who would be, say, in I used to work in a Brewers Fayre. Do you know Brewers Fayre restaurants?
No.
They're just like what are they, like a beef eaters? Weatherspoons type of thing, right? And my experience in one of those type of restaurants is like the head chef is somebody who shouts at everybody. The food isn't great, but still they consider themselves to be a chef, right? Because technically I guess they are. What would you say to, say, maybe an 18-year-old kid who might be in that environment? They don't want to necessarily, they want to be a chef, but that's not what they think. That's what they now think it is, if that kind of makes sense.
I think what's happened is, I think it still now is, a lot of restaurants are changing.
Okay.
Their chefs are kind of calming down a bit also, but there are the chefs who still scream and shout, and I think it's really wrong, because that environment is not healthy.
Like Gordon Ramsay.
I think he's a TV persona.
Yeah,
he's not like that.
He actually seems a nice person, to be fair.
He's indeed a very nice person, but he's a different person. That's what he sells. That's what the TV sells for him. But I think it's wrong as well, because that's what the chefs see. So just because you're on TV and doing that stuff, you're teaching somebody something completely wrong.
And you think it's acceptable.
It's not acceptable. So also this Me Too movement, which is started in the chef industry as well, in the hospitality industry, I think it's great, because all these male chefs are getting caught, and the youngsters who are bullied or sexually harassed. I think it's really, really kind of turned the tables. But I think having a women in the kitchen always changes the mentality of the chefs working, because they do respect that. And I also think that young chefs should, if something's happening to them, and when I had the restaurant, I would never let anybody even a customer say anything to my staff, because you have to respect them.
It's intimidating as well. Even back when I was 17, 18, just working in a restaurant, and when you got a grown 30, 40-year-old man shouting at you, it's quite scary, I guess. And I think, Enzo, even you've worked, say, even a pot wash in the kitchen, similar, and you've experienced racism and a wide range of different things. So if you had the goal and the dream of wanting to become a chef one day and learn about food, yes, it's kind of good to know that it's being cut out in a way. That type of negativity is being cut out, because that's not just from my experience, but I know quite a lot of other people.
I think it's going to take time, but it's changing. It's good that it's been getting caught.
What are you doing?
It's getting caught. It's changing, but it's not going to happen very quickly. Also, the women in the industry are speaking up, because I have 2 daughters. You know, whatever career they're going to go to, I have to teach them that you cannot get bullied by anybody. They have to stand for racism. They have to, because they're born in this country. So I think that you have to be a strong person. You have to be strong as a human being to be able to look out for your staff, look out for the people, not just your kids.
I'm glad we're touching on this subject as well, because playing like devil's advocate in a way, or because you got a generalization that women should be in the kitchen, but then I don't know if it's just a generalization again, or whether it's actual facts, but there seems to be more male head chefs. Is that true?
It
is. Or
is.
is that changing?
I mean, recently, like Heston...
And why is that? Like, if that is...
Like, I think years ago it was the persona of working long hours, and I think it was that women were cooking at home, and yet they were not respected as they were cooking outside. It was all very much talked about the men, and women, even if they were in the kitchens, they weren't talked about, you know. So I think, like recently, Heston Blumenthal said that you know, women cannot stand the heat, and they are used to the 9-to-5 job, or the biological clock is ticking, and all that rubbish. You know, you are a big chef, that? Heston Blumenthal. Okay. You know, he's a big chef. You should not say these things, because you are born out of a woman's womb. You know, you cannot say that women can't do that. Women can do whatever when they have the right, you know, right. And I think if you see now, the changes of women in the industry are immensely huge, and women want to come because the ethos, the things are changing. So women are coming in the industry, and they're also getting known. People like Jamie Oliver, you know, pushing. He's amazing because he helps so many women that no one sees that. Of that, he's helped loads of people, not just women, lots of younger generation, younger chefs. You know, he helps lot of people in the industry, and has changed so much for the hospitality industry. And then, you know, people like Nigella Lawson, what happened in her career, and how she's so helpful to people like now newer generation. And, you know, when I came to this country, it was Delia Smith on TV, or Two Fat Ladies. So there were women, but they were like on TV much, you know, not talked about in the kitchens. But now there are chefs like Nigella, Angela Hartnett, Nevis Began, or Ravinder Bhogal, or Sabrina Gita. There's so many women who are talented and upcoming in the industry. No, they're not just food writers or journalists. They are huge, amazing journalists as well, you know. So I think it's changing. It's going to take a little bit longer, but it's just changing.
From our conversations we had previously, and just even listening to you talk then, you appear to be very courageous in my eyes, very like brave. You move forward at a pace where you're not sorry. And what I mean by that is, you said earlier, why be scared? Where did that mindset and mentality come from? Because we're talking about even diversity on TV. You're like, any opportunity, I'll have it. Why be scared? Go and do it. Yeah. Believe in yourself. And you seem so like adamant on that, and just talking to you, I can see it in your eyes. You've got a fire in your eyes. You want to make things happen, and you make things happen. Where did that mindset come from? Did that develop over time? Is it natural?
I think my parents were very strong people. They were the people who couldn't speak English, but they wanted all the 3 kids to go to English in private schools. So I didn't come and learn English here. My English was my first language in India, because I went to private school.
It was your first language?
Yes, that was my first language. In the school, we had to speak English.
Wow.
At home, we could speak whatever we wanted. So I think my parents were very motivated. My parents were very courageous in many different ways. So I think it comes from them. But then you come to a different country, And I get asked the question about racism. I think racism exists. Some people will say open to your mind, and it just goes from one ear to another for me, because I lived in a country in India which racism exists all the time, because India is a big country. They're very horrible to each other in many different ways if you're darker skin or white skin. So I think for me that is something not very new, and I'm
kind of used to it.
I'm used to it. Plus, I would not take any nonsense if somebody did say anything to me, and I will help somebody if I see that on the tube, if somebody is being racist. I will not I sit there quietly and read my book, or on the phone. I will stand up for that person, whether you're white or black or somebody is being racist to each other. So I think that also. I think I started working in a male-dominating industry. If I wasn't as strong as I am today, I wouldn't have lasted. So I think some people would not agree with me, but I became kind of a man in the men industry, because I just wouldn't take no nonsense. If somebody said anything to me, I would not take it lightly. I would be very strong in my head. But I think that's why the men really respect me, because I didn't. The position I am in, I worked really hard to be in that position. I had to, and I didn't have a godfather in the industry to pick my hand and tell me what to do. But I found a mentors, and the mentors were really good to me. Cyrus Todiwala, who's an amazing chef, his wife Praveen. Then I have a mentor in India who's one of the greatest chefs. So I think you have to reach out to people. The two things that will happen, I always say to people, is yes or no. You write to people, if you catch somebody in a good mood, like you did to me, you never know, they might say yes. I knew
I wasn't going to let you go. I think that's what it was.
I just think you have to say yes or no. So it's the two things I always say to my daughters. Don't be scared of asking. And as you said, any opportunities that has come my way, I never sit on social media and said, oh, because I was brown, I got the opportunity. Yes, great, I'm brown, I'm a woman, I got the opportunity, and I am great at what I do. I think I really see something in a very different way, and I'm very happy that they approach me and they think that I'm capable of doing it. But I just think you have to, the situations you are given, you just have to make it the way you want to.
Do you ever doubt yourself?
I used to when I opened the restaurant, because people were very critical about, very few % of people were, because you wanted poppadoms on the table, which I would never do poppadoms, because that's not what we do in India. Poppadoms we call it papar, which is eaten with the food, not before the food.
I do love poppadoms.
Well, you wouldn't have got that in my restaurant. So I think you have to be in your set mind what you want to give to people and what you want to cook. Or even if I'm writing articles in the newspaper or magazines, if somebody comes and criticizes you, I take the criticism, good or bad, but I explain them very different way. I don't start fighting with people. I explain this is how it's done and this is how I have learned. I'm still learning. But doubting, I used to when I opened the restaurant. I don't now. I just think that everybody is good at what they do, because if you're doing the same thing again and again, I think you just get better.
So why did you want to open up a restaurant? Because let's be honest, the overheads you probably had to cover, the upfront cost, then you got to get customers in the door. Why was it important for you to start and open up a restaurant?
I think I did the legwork by doing catering and doing food festivals and markets and stuff. And teaching people. So people knew about me. So it is very important to do that before, even if you want to open a restaurant. I think for me, opening in Thornbury was very important because I live here and my daughters were very, very little. It took me 3.5 years for the planning to give me a planning permission because they worked part-time. South Gloucestershire was rubbish because they thought I'm a woman who's woken up and wants to open a restaurant. So they took 3.5 years to give me a planning. Wow. If it was a big restaurant like any chain restaurants, they would have just done it quickly. So I didn't give up. Anybody in the right mind would have. I did not. And then 9 months for the builders to finish again because I was a woman and they were taking longer and longer. And then came the banks. They wouldn't give me a loan. So BBC found out about me that banks are not giving her, all the major banks refused to give me a loan. So they came to me and I said, yeah, fine. So they did a feature on me on national news, and the next day the NatWest gave me a loan. So I owe a lot to NatWest in many ways, but I had a lot of gold jewelry which I sold to kind of put in my restaurant. So it worked in a way because I didn't wanted that. So in India, the jewelry when we have given in the time of marriage, it's for your time of need. It's like having a cash at home.
How did that publicity help you though? Apart from getting a loan, I bet that was huge, wasn't it? Have you got any type of publicity before then? Like, was you well known at all, or did that really kind of push you to a next level?
I think in the Southwest, people used to know me in Bristol quite a lot because I was in the food scene in the Bristol, or did few things in London. But I think that was something. I was opening a restaurant, give that people hope as well. Like, they came to know that the government gives the money to the banks, but the banks don't give it to the small businesses. Because I was a woman. Secondly, I was a brown woman, and third, I've never opened a restaurant. So 3 things was against me. But I think if you have...
How can you be sure, the first 2 being a woman and being a brown woman, how can you be sure that was a barrier?
Oh, it is. With women businesses, it's always a barrier. With a lot of other places that we came to know, I used to go and ask people. So it wasn't just a woman. It is a woman of any kind of color, white or you're brown or black. It's a woman. Firstly, that's why I said it was a woman. And second, it is. It's the businesses that women kind of, their mentality that it will fail. It's not... and a restaurant industry does fail within first year. So I didn't want to give anybody a happiness of me failing within 1 year. So we did, I had the building for 10 years before my lease was going to be up, and I did not want to carry another 10 years in Thornbury. So I will open another restaurant, but not in Thornbury.
Where?
I can't say. It will be with the investors.
It'll be where?
With the investors who are helping me open it.
Okay. But London?
Might be.
Yeah. She's going, pass it over. That's amazing, though. So let me ask you a quick question, right? So your husband's from India as well?
Yes.
Why would you come to a place like Thornbury?
My husband is a chip designer. He designs computer chips.
Okay.
Not potato chips,
Okay.
but the eating ones.
Yeah.
So it's the one in your phones and stuff in the bank, in the chips. So he worked in Bristol, and he asked the friends where to buy a house, the colleagues he knew, and they said Thornbury because the schools are really good, and also the M5, M4 motorway, you can go any side. I think it was because of the schools, and a lot of families lived here. So Thornbury is like a town, the way I grew up in a small town in India. So it's similar to that, and people are quite helpful to one another.
So why did you decide to close down your restaurant here? Obviously, you have intentions of opening up another restaurant, but did you not want to try and keep the 2? Would that not be possible? Would your time be divided? Do you want to make it a chain of restaurants, or what would be your kind of goal with that?
Never want to do a chain restaurant. Thornbury had its time, because Thornbury is a very materialistic town, and also people have kids and stuff, and they want to spend money on the kids, and so my restaurant lasted because people came from outside.
Okay.
It didn't last because
other people in Thornbury. Okay.
People did support me. I wouldn't say that they did support me, but if people did not come from outside, from London, Southampton, or abroad, I wouldn't survive today.
Was that because of the publicity you got? Is that because you're well known, you're consistently putting out content, you're making an impact on the food industry, especially what you're doing?
I think I was lucky because I do so many things, and people used to see me on TV or radio, or I write for various magazines and newspapers. I think that helped people to come from outside.
Is that lucky though, or do you push yourself into those positions?
Oh, I would never say I was lucky. I never would say even, I would say thankful, because I wrote to people and they came back to me.
That's what I'm trying to say.
So luck, yes, maybe a little bit, but you also have to prove yourself, not to others. But I think and also when people talk about your food, when people eat in your food, I think Carousel was one of the places when after 1 year of opening the restaurant here, I went to Carousel. I did a pop-up for like a residency in a restaurant. It's called Carousel for two weeks in January, about 4 years ago. I think that changed my life. They changed my life. Like Faye Marshall came to eat. Grace Dent came to eat. A lot of other food writers and journalists came to eat there. So I think because of them, people came to eat in my restaurant later on. I think how the London food scene completely changed my restaurant. Not, I would say, anything else.
I have to give you credit though to not only open up a restaurant and have the business, but then to also remain hungry, not literally, but to like hungry to still go out there and grow your personal brand and grow other forms of your business essentially. Because it would be so easy just to sit back maybe in a restaurant, just cook food and just look after the restaurant. But you kind of had one eye on where you are and also one eye on what's next.
I think when I opened the restaurant, I was the first Indian woman to open the restaurant. First Indian woman as a female chef to open a restaurant and run the restaurant. So I think that later on encouraged a lot of other Indian women to open the restaurants in London, because it helps. If they see somebody's doing it, it gives them encouragement. So that helped. But then at the same time, I wasn't going to be one person who could just put my head down. And one of the chefs, famous chef, said to me, "Oh, you live in Thornbury. Nobody's going to write about you. Nobody's going to come and eat your food."
A famous chef said that to you?
So that kind of
What famous chef? Go on. No,
I can't grasp anybody.
I'm joking.
I think.
How did that bother you though? When somebody
it did bother me. So I just kind of thought, you know what? They will write about me. They will. And it did. It just. I think you have to have that drive. Somebody needs to put that drive in you that makes it work. Sometimes people say like you can do marathons, and I did 5 marathons. I've done 5 and 40 half. So I think somebody when says that you can't do it, I go and get it and do it.
That's incredible. So you kept one eye on the goal, and you also kept one eye on where you're currently at. But surely, like, we're talking about a little bit about self-doubt and stuff. And sometimes the people, even myself, people in my family, other people I work with, their family, we're talking about the children earlier when they come from different backgrounds. They've got people around them. It's like a negative loop of people saying they can't. What would you say to those people, especially if they're struggling to see anything positive or struggling to see that they can go and do things they want, whether it's with food or whether it's with something completely different? What type of advice would you give those people?
I think first of all I think we are living in a culture where we're so I'm a creature of habit as well. We're so much using the phone, so much using the tablets that years ago we didn't have that. When I moved to this country, it was really hard to phone my parents as well because it was expensive. Which is again now great. I can FaceTime my dad, or I used to do that with my mom, but that was great. But the thing is, people are so watching all these things on TV. They're not going out and want to do things as well, because even if it's raining, I'll go out and run. It just clears my mind. It helps me because I'm not have to go to a gym and pay for that. I just want to go out and clear my mind. It helps me. I'm also sometimes, as you said, self-doubt myself. And I also, various other things. I get really anxious about some things. But I think it's really, as I said, it's really important to find somebody who would really give you good advice. And I really, honestly, a mentor is very important person in your career, I think.
So that transition, let's talk about it. I guess the technology in the UK compared to India when you come over was a big change. But even though that was a long time ago, even over the last 26 years, did you say? Technology is consistently and constantly changing. So how have you adapted to that? Because you're on Instagram, you're on social media, and you're not only on these platforms, but you are active on these platforms. How did you learn to transition? Because say someone like my parents, they look at Instagram and go, I wouldn't have no idea how to use that. But you've used these these kind of forms of technology and communication to your advantage. Did you take a conscious decision? I say, I need to learn that. I need to learn how to do this. I need to apply this to my business to make sure we can grow.
I think Instagram is something I really like because it's about food. It's about you, what you're doing and showing people. So I think that is really good if you see some of the people doing what Instagrammers, and I have a genuine account that not somebody's bot followers. So there are people I know who's bot followers and have like millions and millions of them, which are not genuine. So I think you have to have certain kind of people you follow, you look up to and say, oh, actually, that person is doing something with that. Actually, if I do something with this, my food, it will look this way. So I think social media is really important to if you don't have the money for spending on a PR and stuff. I think having that presence in the social media, talking about you and the food or anything you're doing is really important, as long as you do it sensibly.
You got an MBE.
Yeah.
How was that? How did that come about?
So
Is that a big thing for you? Is that a box you wanted to tick? Well, talk to me about that.
I think when I received the letter, I just left it on the side thinking about another bill. So when my daughter came and saw the stamp of the House of Commons, and she said, "Mom, what's this?" So I said, "Open it." And she was screaming. So for me, it didn't sink in. I had to call the cabinet office 3 times to see it was for me, it was not for somebody else, and they would kept on laughing that actually it's for you. And I wasn't allowed to say to anybody for 3 months because they announce it, and then you go to the Buckingham Palace with your family. But
so cool.
It was because you stand outside. When I first came to the country and wanted to visit London, you stand outside, to be going in and going with your family. It was so real and surreal moment because I was kind of, when I didn't know this, but until recently, I was the first Indian female chef to get the MBE for the food hospitality. So I think it's a big honor because people just love the relationship between the Indian government, people with, it is. I still don't ever think it's there, but it's such a huge honor because coming from a small town and, people have dreams. Of course I had dreams. I want to do this, I want to do that, but never in a million years would I think I will have a title given by the Queen.
It's a kind of side product of just all your hard work though, really. How did that come about from any particular thing you did, or was that just all the work you've done? What was kind of said about you when you was collecting that award? Was there anything in particular they identified which kind of passed the criteria for you to collect the MBE?
I think it was for the hospitality industry, and also because I opened my restaurant on my own terms and I was the first Indian woman to open it. I think all that counted, and opening in a small town. And cooking, putting my head down and cooking continuously for 5-6 years. I didn't see my kids because I came at 2:00 in the morning and then got up just to say hello to them and then didn't see them. So I think you have to have the drive to be able to do that, and the family to support you. I wouldn't be able to do things if my husband and my kids didn't support me.
How hard was that, not seeing your kids?
Not seeing my kids. They used to come and say hello and hi. That is it. I couldn't do anything physically. Sunday, I was so tired that I didn't want to get out of bed, but I had to do things with them. But I think it is great because as a dad, my husband is amazing with them. He's a mom and a dad to them. And the girls are very close with him. I do get jealous because they don't come to me as say, I want this or would like to do this. So that part really annoys me and I get upset about that. But having a dad as a something really good for the kids, I think it's really important. And girls need to see that as women, your mom is working. I think it's really important for them to see.
Why?
I think because mostly in India, and my mom as well, and a lot of women I know, after children can sometimes can't go back to work because of lot of problems. But I always say to my friends that it's really important even for one day to go back to work for your own sanity, because kids, family, everything is very important, and they will grow up, they will leave you, but you need to be your individuality is very important.
Okay, so let's look at what is this?
Zyka means flavor.
Okay.
So it's my first book, probably my third baby. It is really close to my heart because this is the food I grew up eating. I fought with my publishers to do that book because it's a vegan book. Indian people are not vegan, but we eat very little meat in India. But also, without intentionally, a lot of us eat plant-based food in India. So I think that's why I wanted to show it to people. If you open the book and see, you won't even know it's a vegan book. It's mostly would say it's a vegetarian book. But you can, if you're a meat eater, you can actually use the paste and stuff for you eating meat and fish.
So how long? To just show everyone at home, how long in the making was this book?
2 years.
2 years.
Yes.
Is it always something you wanted to do?
I always wanted to write a book. The food I grew up eating. It's actually a homage to my mum because she passed away, and I wanted to write the book, the recipes that she would like. This recipe is like a bitter gourd, and she would make this as a picnic for my train journeys because we used to go on a 24-hour train journey. So I think I wanted to write the book, the food I grew up eating, and my mum would cook. So it's a homage to my mum.
And these are all separate dishes?
All separate. 100 different dishes.
What type of feedback have you had?
It's really successful. It's one of the 20 best cookbooks of 2019 of Observer.
Wow.
And also BBC Food Programme chose this as their best books of the year.
Is the book in shops and stuff?
All local shops, W.S. Smith and Waterstones, and obviously Amazon as well.
Was that difficult to get into?
I think it's not. It's the publishers, they do it. It's nothing to do with me. So
what made you want to go with a publisher instead of being self-published? Was it just a no-brainer?
I would never self-publish, no.
Why?
With the editing, with photography, with everything, making of the book, of the cover, it's the publishers are the best to do it.
And it's about workload as well. Because
exactly.
You've got other commitments, you've got other things to do. So I'm assuming it's like a partnership, isn't it? I've heard, obviously, when it comes down to books, obviously, of course, you can still make money from books. But was there, you don't seem like a person who's doing things for money. You're doing things for, one, because you love it, your legacy, you're creating influence, inspiration with everything you do, right? Was that the reason why you did the book, to try and just take it to a next level, to, really set your name in stone, essentially? If
I think I always
do that.
I wanted to write a book because I just think some Indian books Madhu Jaffrey book is one of the best books. I think it's amazing. And there are some wonderful Indian books, but this is my story. I wanted to tell my story, and I wanted people to see if she can do it. We are able to do it. But also I think it's something where you're born and brought up, and the way cultures are so different in each state of India. So I wanted to write a book that actually people can pick up and cook easily, and it's not something you have to go and buy expensive produce, and that was my thing. But I think every chef wants to be an author, but how good an author it is, I don't know. I've written a book and people are enjoying it, and I'm getting good feedback. That's what I wanted to do.
Who is the majority of your fan base? Is it people in the UK? Is it over in India? What type who would you say, or is it a mix of everyone?
I think it's mixed of people, because UK obviously and India, and then America, people are loving my book there, and I'm doing
good. That's a good market.
We have to sell the rights to there. We haven't sold the rights yet, but I'm cooking lots in America from February till May. So I think
that's amazing. Anywhere in particular?
New York, Philadelphia, Washington DC, Tennessee, and LA.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
That's incredible. Have you done much work over America
I
so
have.
far?
But with books, you don't make money. So people think your book... it's not about making money. It's about getting out there.
The exposure.
People like Nigella Lawson, people like Jamie Oliver will make money from it, probably. But not... you authors don't make money from... It's the publishers who make money.
So why is it your third baby, and why is your restaurant not the third baby, or why is this so important to you?
I think restaurants come and go. You can open another one, because that doesn't stay. This will always be there. This is always going to be there for me. When I'm old, I'm sitting in a chair with my friends. Holding my first book. So I think that. And restaurants but I wouldn't call it my baby. It was something that I used to earn from, but this is something that will stay like my kids.
So the podcast is called Dreams to Reality. What is the dream now for you? You've done a lot. You've achieved a lot. What is the next dream for you?
I don't really have a dream, but I do. I have a new series on BBC One, which I'm really excited about. But
just BBC One, nothing too special.
But I want to one day maybe do a kind of a series with Netflix, which I'm in talks at the moment. Want to take my dad and travel with my dad. He's a great cook. And because my mum passed away, his grieving is different. My grieving about my mum is different. So I want to take him and cook in the countries with him. That would be
great TV too.
So I want to do that. Is what my next aim is.
To be recorded, or just to do something with your dad?
No, proper filming. Proper.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That'd be great TV.
So that is my next thing is, I wouldn't say it's a dream, it's an aim. And I think it might happen, it might not happen. But if you...
So what's the reality of the situation? What is the reality of the daily grind, the daily work, the daily struggles, the daily everything? Because it's not easy. When you talk, you make things sound easy. You're super successful, but it's never is easy.
It's never
so
easy.
what is the reality of your situation? How have you managed to stay consistent for so long, despite so many ups and downs and challenges?
I think we all go in dark places. I think we all have our dark places. We all have, nobody's marriage life is perfect because we all go through ups and downs, but it's also what you come out of it. I think, I have a very bad OCD when I'm at home. So kids just want me to get out because I like my house really spotless, really clean. I think we all have some kind of different habits. But I think what has really made me look older in recent years is traveling. It's just that I'm exhausted all the time. But when I have to go and cook, I have to just be chirpy, very happy. But I think when I'm home, all I want to watch is watch crappy TV and eat something really delicious. So I think that has really kind of, traveling has made me really tired.
Okay, so a lot of traveling. I ask every guest this, right? If you could sit down with any 3 people, dead or alive, famous, you name it, what 3 people would you want to sit down with and why?
Nelson Mandela was always one of the people I really admire and he's sadly not with us anymore, but I always love his quotes. I still carry on and read what he's written and see the videos. So it would have been great to be, sit down and ask him how he was so calm and how he was, how his journey was. I want, and also give him the food, cook the food for him. The second, I think with recent election and stuff, I am in love with Hugh Grant now more than ever. So he's so funny and he's so great at what's happening to our country and he's vocal about it in a very good way. So I think I would really want to sit down and cook for him and have a chat.
Nelson Mandela, Hugh Grant. Surely you can arrange Hugh Grant with your connection. Surely you can cook for Hugh Grant. You can make that happen.
Maybe.
Don't think the way you talk about it, I don't think your husband would be too happy, but
no, he's great. My husband's very chilled out and very placid man. And the third one is an Indian actor which you wouldn't know. He's called Salman Khan and he's an amazing actor. So so I always wanted to cook for him, but he doesn't really probably eats a lot of protein.
Yeah. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway, I just want to say a massive thank you for your time today.
No worries.
Literally talking to you is kind of motivated me in a way to keep going. It's so easy to try and, especially we're so early on in our careers and trying to build the businesses we're trying to do. It's so easy to just be filled with negativity or self-doubt, especially when there's people around you who don't really know what you're going through. And the level of kind of courage you show, your work ethic, and everything you do on a day-to-day basis is really inspiring. So I do want to just say thank you.
And
hopefully we can connect again after this.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to be following your journey moving forward.
And feed you one day, you guys, right?
Especially
not
when you open your restaurant in London.
And not eat on the services.
We don't do that. We're athletes, all right? So we don't do that. But anyway, thank you. There you have it, guys. Another episode of the D2R podcast. We're going to leave all Romy's information in the description. Make sure you do follow her, check her out. Let us know what you think of this podcast as well. Give us a like, comment, and of course, hit that big red button and subscribe. I'm out.
Okay, he's holding the camera right now. I'll tell you about him. He's only 19 years old. Put your hands up if you're 19 in here. Anyone 19? Few people, one person. Okay. Put your hands up if you're 19 in the next 12 months.